What's up, friends and family? Mr. Flip Flop here. Today's video is going to be about love and relationships in the Dominican Republic. Now, I'm doing this video in response to a lot of emails. By the way, I answer all my emails. If I don't get back to you within a day or two, that means I didn't receive your email. I respond to everyone. So a lot of people want to know about love and relationships, and I know I've talked about mine here and there, and I will talk about mine on this video as well. But there's a few things I think we need to discuss before we talk about love and relationships, because you got to reach a point where you have a relationship before you can reach a point where you have love. Okay? Is it possible? Yes. But we need to go into some factors that need to be discussed before it goes in. I hope I don't get too lectury in this, because I have my points of views and things I talk about. Okay, but let's start from the beginning. Like I said, love and relationships in Dominican Republic. I think the biggest thing that we should start with is language. Do you speak the language? And I ask that because si tú no hablas español o creol, ¿cómo tú hablas? How do you communicate if you can't speak the language? Is your relationship based on Google Translate? Is your relationship based on that person speaking English? Because the reason I ask that person can speak English, but by you not being able to communicate with them and not getting into their culture, you'll never really know much about them other than what they tell you. I think that's the biggest misconception people make. Oh, they speak English, I'm okay. No, I don't agree with that. Personally, I don't agree with that. Okay? You want to be able to communicate. Now, the biggest problem we have anyway in the matrix, I guess you would say, is that we lack communication with our significant other. So what happens is people get divorced because they're not communicating. Communication is basically I'd say 98% of the relationship. If you can't communicate, how can you have a relationship? If you don't have a relationship, how can you have love? I'm just going to throw that out there. To me, communication is everything. Excuse me. Let's see. I believe I like to talk, and in the Latin culture, they like to talk as well, especially Dominicans, they like to talk. What do they talk to you about if you can't communicate with them? Think about it. How can you get to know someone and have a relationship with someone, and fall in love with someone, if you can never actually have a conversation person to person? Everything is either through Google Translate or someone's translating for you. That's the reality, But we will make a quick detour in this, because I used to be a personal trainer, and as a personal trainer, I was kind of like a life coach. So I give a lot of advice, and I talk about these things a lot with guys at the bar and women at the bar, and just in general. I will say that we all, not just tourists or people, North Americans, Europeans, we all, even Dominicans, as humans, we all have a false sense of need. And let me explain that. A false sense of need, meaning we want to be needed. We want to be liked. We want to be accepted. So sometimes, because of that false sense of need, you will settle and say, okay, I'll be with that person because they need me or they want me. And it may not be what you want it to be or what you dreamed it would be, but because you felt needed and you felt wanted, you settled for that person. That's a big thing with me, is I see people settle just because that significant other made them feel wanted or needed. So I think one thing we all have to get through is that false sense of need, being needy and not wanting to be alone. Sometimes being alone is better for you. You view things in a different manner, and you see with clearer eyes when you're alone as the type of person you are and the type of person you want to be with. Also, I tell people this all the time, love yourself first. How can you love anybody or expect anybody to love you if you don't love yourself? How can you be happy with anybody if you're not happy with yourself? Now, you guys know, I think I mentioned in the video, Shorty just took off one day and he said, guys, I got my pad, I got notes from you guys, emails, stuff I responded to. But one day Shorty's professing her love to me, how she can't live without me. And then she up and leaves. I mean, hey, she's pregnant, going through emotions. It is what it is. But I'm not gonna be sad, I'm not gonna be upset. Hey, she's ready to reach out, she will. I'm happy with me. If they all leave tomorrow, I still love me. And I'll break something down to you. The more you love yourself, the more people are drawn to you. And the more people will love you. You know, so you can kind of cut the video off now and go and do some self-searching and be like, well, do I love myself? Am I happy with myself? Because no one's gonna love you like you love yourself. No one's gonna make you happy like you can make yourself happy. You know, so those are things I think we need to consider. Do you love yourself? Are you happy with yourself? Before we even go into another relationship in any country in the world, even in your own country. Do you love yourself? Are you happy with yourself? Okay, so those things are things I always consider when people talk about love and relationships. I'm happy with my relationships because I'm happy. I love my relationships because I love me. So that's the biggest difference between me and anything that goes on around me. Okay, so make your own happiness first. Okay, and love yourself first. And then we can move on to seeing about loving someone else and someone else loving you. Now, relationships between men and women. Now, I will throw this out. People who know me know I always say this. There is this thing called Latin affection, and it applies to Dominican Republic. Latin affection is a motherfucker. I mean, Latin affection, the way I break it down is, it can make you feel like you're number one, you're everything. You're Superman, Superwoman. You're the top of the food chain. You're just the best. You know, and it's not a bad thing. It's actually a great thing. It's just that in the Latin culture, especially Dominican, they're raised to be very pleasing and caring. So that affection and love you're not used to getting back home, you'll get it here, whether it's fake or real, because they're just taught to be that way. Very caring, very loving. You know, so if you've never had a woman love you before, here you'll have a woman that's, oh my God, she loves me. If you've never had a man love you before, to my ladies, of course, you will have a man here who's treating you like a queen. Because that's how he's raised. That's how they're raised. Love, affection, you know, pleasing, caring. So Latin affection is a lot. And I've seen guys go a little nuts over the Latin affection, but it's a real thing. You know, I tell guys all the time, I've seen people get caught up in that Latin affection. It's not, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. Because sometimes you have that false sense of need, but you feel so wanted and so needed. It's a good feeling to feel loved. Everybody wants to be loved, so it's a good feeling. But that Latin affection is something else. You know, so it may not be love sometimes, but it will feel so good to you that you'll love it back. Okay, so for me, I guess I tell people Latin affection is something else. So sometimes you gotta vet that out. And you see me use that word a lot, vet people out, vet things out. You have to break things down of what a person really is or what something really is before you take it for what it's worth, you know, and before you settle. Also, they're very jealous people, the men and the women, very emotional, very jealous. So you'll get things, you know, little comments and stuff like that, like, oh, I saw you over there, you with someone else, blah, blah, blah. That is honestly just the culture. Along with the affection comes the jealousy, because they're very affectionate and they can be very jealous. So, you know, dealing with a Dominican, excuse me, I'm sorry, I had a sip. Dealing with a Dominican, you have to deal with jealousy as well. You know, they're very jealous. And there's some of us that are jealous too. I'm not, you know, let's be honest. But with a Dominican, you'll get that extra jealousy as far as the man towards the woman and the woman towards the man. A lot of insecurities, but that's everybody. We all have insecurities. But here it's a little bit different, and I'll tell you how. I have a lot of female friends, and my biggest joke is, hey, you're ugly. Tu estás fea. You know, that's just a joke, you know. And I've had girls call me like hours later and be like, am I really ugly? Do you really feel that way about me? And I'm like, no, I'm just joking. But their insecurities, because no one's ever called them ugly, if you were to tell them something low about themselves, they're like, oh my God, is this what this person thinks of me? They always like to keep a level of what you think about them. So people say about lies. Sometimes they're not lying to you to be malicious. They're lying to keep that level of what you think about them up there. They don't want you to think less of them and lower of them. So even though if it's a stupid lie, maybe just a dumb lie, the lie is because of insecurity. Well, you think this way of me, so let me just keep it there. Because if I tell you the truth, even though it's a stupid lie that has nothing to do with nothing, you'll think this of me. So that insecurity sometimes leads to false confidence and lies. You know, so that's another thing in the Latin community, and as far as Dominicans go as well. You know, you have the Latin affection, you have the jealousy, you have the insecurity. Okay, so I've seen those things firsthand, experienced those things in all my years here, and it's a real thing. So you have to look at that when you're going into a relationship with someone as well. You also have to understand when you go into a relationship, because I was asked this question, is it love or necessity? Do they need you? Meaning you need love, you know, you want love, you have that false sense of need, and they may need help. Everyone needs help, but they may need stability. They may not have stability. Now, let me break this down real quick while we go into that. There's a big rumor and myth that it's only about money. That's false, okay? It's not only about money. I can take you places where some of these women won't even talk to you. They'll look at you like a clown no matter how much money you have, because they're not raised that way. You know, certain people put a stigma and this country in a box based on certain things you've seen in certain places. That's not how it is. And that's come from most people that don't experience the culture, only know a small strip of land and never going out of that. You know, it's not always about money. Could it be about money? Yes, it certainly can. And that goes the same in the Matrix, goes the same in Europe, goes the same in Australia, goes the same in America and Canada. It can be about money there as well. Some people need stability, and they will have a relationship for stability. So what's the difference here? Difference here is they're a little bit poorer, third world country, but you will not find everybody at that level of saying, give me money. But you also have to understand your relationship with that person. Is it love or is it stability? Sometimes convenience. You know, I was asked the question, I said, you have to vet the person out. You have to know. There's no formula to this. There's no formula to break down if that person really cares about you. It's the same as, see, the thing is, the difference here is the Latin affection, but it's the same if you back home. There's no formula to saying that woman really loves you. Okay, and you can miss me with all that BS of my woman, my woman, my woman. Because when I was a dirtbag running around, humping everything, moving in the States, I was messing with married women. Okay, and so you can miss me with all that. And they was Susie homemaker, in love with their husband, and their husband loved them, and live happy ever after. And as soon as he went to work, they would call on my phone. So you can miss me with just DR. It happens back in the States. It happens everywhere. Okay? And I had someone tell me one time, like, it's funny how guys think they're doing dirt, or women think they're doing dirt, and their significant other isn't. It's called life because you got to live it. So you have to learn from these experiences and vet people out. But see, the difference with me, if my woman goes off and is with another guy, hey, it is what it is. I'm not going to be mad at the guy. I wasn't strong enough at that moment to keep her. Or she wasn't strong enough to realize she had me. But you know what? At the end of the day, I still love me some me. So that's what it is. So vet that out as far as, is it love or is it stability, convenience? Are you just needy? Do you just want to feel that Latin affection? Do you just feel so special that you just have to have that person in your life? You know, you have to vet those things out. That's reality. People ask how you know. As I said, there's no formula. There's no formula. And I'm gonna give you my like I said, I get personal because I have a lot of experiences here. I had a girl, let's call her Izzy. Izzy believed in my dream. Izzy saw a lot of stuff I was doing, and Izzy was like, man, you're gonna be big. I see how you move. And she did everything. Not very educated. It was, I'm gonna tell you this crazy, not very educated, but taught me business in the DR. You wanna know how she taught me? She studied. She went to lawyers' offices. She went to other businesses. Got this information that I had no idea about when I started a business down here a long time ago. I had no idea about, and broke it down to me. I needed a cashier. She went and studied, Googled, and read books on how to be a cashier. She saw my vision and wanted to help me build my vision. And she held me down. She rode with me. She dealt with all my BS and rode with me. You know, to this day, I see her. I love her to death. You know, we parted ways on good terms. You know, she went her way, I went mine. But she was so loyal to me and so in love with me that she did everything in her power to help me succeed. My first business ever, my first company ever, she helped me build that. We built that, like honest, I tell people, 718, we built that together, me and Izzy. I wouldn't have known what I know now as far as business if she didn't come and be like, listen, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. Because she was going around getting the information. I was just opening a business, trying to live my dream. And she went and got me the ins and outs and out and ins, you know? So, you know, you have people that are very good people. She didn't have anything. She didn't have anything. She rode with me through thick and thin until we succeeded and built a nice business, and which led to all these businesses I have now. You know, so she rode with me. And you find people like that. She was very loyal, loved me to death. I wasn't the greatest person to her. I know it, and she knew it, but I was honest with her. One thing about me is I'm honest. I tell a woman, I'm not a one-woman man. I just can't be. That's not what I am, which is why I have my situation. But she rode with me and she was loyal to me. She was only with me. She was like, listen, it's all about you because I believe in you and I love you. And I always, to this day, I still love her because everything she did. Then we can go into Slim, who's part of my life now. Slim knew from previously what I was doing about my new vision of what's going on now. And she saw like, okay, you know so many people, you move people in different directions. You know what you're doing. I'm gonna help you. And Slim was there, riding with me all the way. I said this in another video. Slim was loyal from day one. I broke Slim heart, but Slim stayed. You know, Slim has always been there, no matter what. Slim is the one person in my life that I feel I don't do enough for. You know, I can take her to dinner. I can throw her a birthday party, but I feel I ain't never done enough for her. I feel I owe her to the day I die, as much as she's done for me. You know, so you can get that love and that loyalty. You know, it's there, but also I communicate with them. I'm able to sit down with them and have a conversation. So it goes a different way. You know, then you have people who have that mindset of money, 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 money. Case in point, I know a young lady, very sweet, probably one of the most greatest girls you would want as your girlfriend. You know, you would want her as your girlfriend. She had a dude, they hooked up. He was like, listen, I want a girl like you, be my girlfriend, blah, blah. So she said, cool. He's like, I don't want you to work. I want you to quit your job. I'll take care of you. She goes, okay, you know, if you don't mind helping me and my daughter, no problem. It is what it is. He's sending her money, taking care of her as he promised. They had only been together, you know, together one time, but they've seen each other a few times and they started a relationship. Now financially, he's deciding to be responsible for her. But as it goes on, in his mind, he bought her. Now this girl, like I said, this is a great girl. Will make any man happy. But he turned it into, you my girlfriend, to you're my sex slave. And she wasn't with that. It turned from we're boyfriend and girlfriend to when I come back down there, I'm doing this, that to you, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, wait a minute, I'm your girlfriend. I'm not just no skeezer, you know? So he lost a good one that could have been a girlfriend because he felt he bought her. So see how it works? It's not always about money. That's the biggest myth, and I think that's the most stupidest thing anybody can say, is that it's all about money, and every woman and man walking the streets in this country is about money. That's not the truth. That's not the truth at all. I was lucky to have a beautiful young lady who I made my fiance, who I almost married, probably the most perfect girl in my life I've ever met. I screwed it up being a nut, being stupid, but she came from a great family, great upbringing, had a good job, went to school, didn't want nothing from me. Funny story, I smoked cigars, so she used to smoke cigars with me. Anybody who knows me from back in the days knows Blondie used to smoke with me. So I'm going to the factory. I say, hey, let's go to the factory, get some cigars. We get there. I only felt like buying 3 boxes of cigars. You know, then our usual thing was go to the factory, go out to dinner. While we're there, she goes, hey, I like these cigars. Why don't you buy these too? I was like, all right, cool. She goes, I'll pay for them. I said, no, that's cool. She said, well, I'm going to give you the money back. I bought the cigars because that's what it was a cigar I liked, but she liked them as well. So 2 days pass and she comes and gives me this money. I'm like, no, it's like 150 bucks. I'm like, nah, I don't want your money. You know, this is like my fiance, so I don't care for her to pay me back. She goes, no, take the money. Excuse me. We're literally about to fight over me not taking this money. I go, take the money, go shopping, go ahead. We're gonna smoke the cigars together, no big deal. But her pride had her rip the money in half and throw it on the floor and say, if you're not taking the money, I don't want the money. I looked at her like, oh my God, in disbelief. But I've embraced the culture and being able to meet people that aren't just about money, as far as some people will have you believe. I've gone places where they have more money than you. Honestly, I'm telling you. I've pulled up in parking lots where there's Ferraris and Maseratis. You know, this is a third world country, but there's 2 levels, rich and poor. There's really no middle class. There is a middle class, but it doesn't really exist. It's there, but not so much. It's rich and poor. You know, so you have people that have money. I've seen people like go out there, you know, think they're getting this retirement money, living it up, you know, balling. And the girl look at them like, are you serious? My car's better than yours. And they ain't doing nothing but working and going to school to get it. So, you know, that's back to thinking about it's financial. It's not always financial. Sometimes it is. You know, let's be honest. Sometimes it is. But it's not always. You have to know people. You have to know yourself. You have to learn yourself before you learn someone else as well. I think that's a big mistake we all make, and it goes back to that false sense of need. You want to be needed, you want to be wanted, and you may go into a relationship not realizing that it's not what you think it is. You know, we want that beautiful relationship, that dream relationship, but it doesn't always exist if you're not willing to put the work in. Also, shoot, how can I forget this girl? For those that know me for a long time, my ginger. As I said, I had my ex-fiance. We'll call her Sue. Sue was the love of my life. No BS. Later on, you know, we parted ways on good terms. Just I wasn't a great guy. I'm not gonna lie. Too much partying, too much, you know, building my name up. But then I dealt with a girl named, I won't say her name, but Ginger. I call her my Ginger. She loved me to death. Changed her life for me. Even though I didn't tell her to, she stopped everything she was doing for me. But I didn't love her the same way she loved me. So she was like, you'll never love me like you love her. Speaking of Sue, I was like, no, I'll be honest with you, I won't. The way I felt for her, it's going to be hard for me to feel for pretty much any woman, because me and her just were on another level. Our connection was different. You know, that's one thing. If you build a connection with somebody, you know the difference in your relationship when you're with that one person that's just everything's perfect up here than when you're with the other person where everything's good, but it's not perfect. You know, so that was my ginger. She wanted me to learn to love her. I did love her, but it wasn't the same as the love I had for someone else. Another thing, loyalty and finances. Let's get that out the way. And we're going, this video is going a little long. I'll try to cut it short real quick. You cannot buy love. You cannot buy loyalty. I'm sorry, you just can't. I don't care how much you have, how much you're going to spend. You cannot buy love. You cannot buy loyalty. If you think you're going to send somebody a few $1,000s and buy their love, all you're really doing is sending somebody a few $1,000s. That's it. You're not buying love or loyalty. You want to help support somebody, support them. But do not think you're creating ownership or you're buying them and their love and their loyalty. I see it all the time. People want to send money and feel like, oh, well, they owe me. And that same story I talked about the girl just recently. Dude tried to buy him a sex slave. And meanwhile, this is a girl who would be a great girlfriend for anybody. Great girl. But he treated her one way and she was another. She didn't need his money. He said, well, you're my girlfriend now. I want to take care of you. And she was like, okay, bet. That's perfect. I'll be your girlfriend. I'll be everything you want me to be except your slave. And he tried to make her a slave. So, you know, you cannot buy love and loyalty. He was out maybe a few $1,000s, and when he came to town, she left. She said, sorry, that's not the girl. I'm not the girl you think I am. I thought we were in a relationship, and you thought I was just some sex toy, and she wasn't having it. So you can't buy love and loyalty. So as far as love in the Dominican Republic and relationships in the Dominican Republic, communication is everything. Getting embracing the culture is another thing. Vetting people out, knowing if it's convenience or financial. Knowing yourself, if you just want to be wanted or you really are into this person, and knowing if that person's into you as well. Sometimes we're so in need to be loved and be accepted and be needed and be wanted, that we'll just surpass all the signs that are there that the person really doesn't feel the same way you feel. You know, I mean, from my personal standpoint, I've never had a problem with women because of my confidence, because of how I carry myself, and because I love myself. You know, I was raised by strong men and strong women, so my mindset is really different when it comes to loving myself. And coming down here, I had to realize that it's difficult for the locals to fall in love with you. But when they do, they feel some type of way. See, a Dominican woman and a Dominican man share the same culture. So when they connect, it's really different. It's easy for them. But when someone like me connects to a Dominican woman, they feel kind of funny. And that it becomes a barrier sometimes where they're like, he's not from my culture. He's not part of my culture. He has learned to embrace my culture, but he's not part of my culture. He's not Dominican. I'll never be Dominican. You know, and they feel some type of way about that because they're like, why do I care about this guy? Why do I love this guy? So they question themselves too. You know, they have those insecurities as well. So even for women that come and fall in love with men, you know, you have to have that time bedded in and just, is it real? Is it sanky panky? You know, as I hear. But sometimes it can be real. It can be genuine. We just have the false sense that some people tell you it can't be genuine. But it can be. I've had probably 4 or 5 really successful relationships that I ended, you know, that I just wasn't ready to settle down, or they just weren't with my program. Because that's one thing, it's all about me. It's my program. I'm going to be with mainly 2 women. I'm going to be with 2 women. Like I said, I don't got to be together, but I need to have my different, you know, my variety for me. I don't need to be all out in the street. You know, that's not me. But I want what I want. And my biggest thing, I say it in Spanish, I want what I want when I want. That's just me. You know, and if I don't get it, okay, we'll move on. I have no problem being alone. No problem being alone. I've learned a lot about myself when I was alone. You know, I was a pretty bad kid, so I got in trouble a lot and I was on punishment a lot. spend a lot of time alone, a lot of by myself time. So it's cool. So that fear of being alone has never come over me, and it shouldn't come over a lot of people. So, you know, cut it short. We're at 30 minutes. I'm sorry if I rambled on, but love and relationships in the Dominican Republic, I feel, needs to be communication. I think it starts there. Then loving yourself, you know, being happy with yourself, and then vetting the person out if they really care about you. Okay? So, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the support. Subscribe and make sure you hit that notification. Mr. Flip Flop, I'm here. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video.